You're listening to the Energy is Love podcast.
Rolling, and then I rolling. What are you looking at?
Email from the school.
Oh, yeah.
I just saw it. Did you already see it?
I did. It's got a bunch of useless information in it.
I was like, click the link. I'm like, isn't this a virus?
It might as well be.
Right?
Yeah.
Now we have to click on links. I don't think so.
Right? Good afternoon, evening, Stephanie.
Good afternoon, evening, Craig.
This is honestly the first moment of the day when you and I have actually gotten the opportunity to sit down and connect.
It is. It's only, 7:24 in the evening? It's fine. It's time.
Right?
It's time.
So we're just going to connect and record a podcast.
If this is what it took, I would have tried to record all day. Oh,
Well,
wait, we did.
You could have. You could have tried to record all day, but the day was full.
We tried in the morning.
Our intention this morning when we woke up was to get our son off to school and then come back home, relax, drink some coffee, and record a podcast.
What do you think?
That's not bad.
That's good. I've also tried to get him to taste this today.
Yeah, that's not bad.
If you're not listening or if you're not watching, that sounded naughty.
But here we are, finally able to, because the world had a couple of different things that we needed to take care of today.
Yeah.
Well, that's okay.
Yes.
It's been a busy day.
Yes.
It's been a busy couple of weeks.
What week is it?
I don't know.
Month?
I don't even know what the fuck day it is. I don't know what day it is.
It's the day where we did things.
Yeah. It's a Friday.
The 27th.
27th.
I had to
It's
look.
August.
It's all, yes.
It's going to be the end of August soon. We're up on the end of August. It's going to be
2021
September.
just started, and it's August.
Well,
I think I've been on autopilot a lot.
you think so?
I don't know. Yeah.
I've been thinking about this thought lately.
What's that?
What were you going to say? It's kind of hot?
Well, it's very hot. Like, I'm going to melt. I'm melting. I'm melting.
I've been talking to you a lot lately about how I don't feel like I'm at my full capacity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mentally, and I think probably mentally is the biggest factor. I'm just don't feel like I'm firing on all cylinders, and I'm not being able to accomplish everything to the level of, or like to the degree of accomplishment that I feel I'm capable of and that I typically do in the past. And I've been cutting myself a lot of slack for that and not being hard on myself about it, which is great. That's wonderful. Truthfully, it is. It makes me feel good that I haven't been being hard on myself. But it's getting a little frustrating that I feel like I continually fall behind on the things that I need to do, especially the things that are like mentally not taxing, but the things that I have to use my brain for. And I've been chalking it up a lot to just the overwhelm of emotion, right? Just the amount of emotional work that we're doing, both with therapy as well as like independently and within the space and context of our relationship. So that's what I've been chalking it up to. And I definitely think that that's a huge factor. And then suddenly I had this thought, I don't know when it was, last few days. I'm like, I bet you it's partially due to COVID. I bet you it's one of those, because they talk about that being one of the side effects. It's kind of like a brain fog type thing.
What?
And so I think that there's a chance that I'm getting dumber because we had COVID at the beginning of the year.
Can I blame that on me too?
Maybe.
Because like it's a legit thing.
Right? Do you remember hearing that somewhere?
Like I've heard like long COVID and all these crazy side effects.
Well, we know my sense of smell is still fucked.
Yeah, your sense of smell still. Asher's is too. But there's things that were, oh my gosh, there was a list that I read that came up that were like, because it was after you talked to me about food, like how the taste different, the smell, because I had that thing, like there's still.
Yeah, like salsa. Certain salsas taste really weird. And yeah, tomatoes.
I get that taste a lot. And the taste that I compare it to is the unflavored collagen drink that we have.
Oh, yeah.
It's like that's the taste that I get, and I'm like, nah.
When I get the tomato taste, when I taste the tomato, no, it tastes like it's bad.
Yeah.
Like it
Like
has
unflavored collagen is like licking a cow's ass.
not in the sense of bad flavor, but that it has turned and gone bad.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
And so I eat the tomato or I eat the salsa and I'm like, oh, this tastes like it's gone bad. But I know it hasn't.
Yeah.
But yet that's what it tastes like.
I was wondering, like that's happened a lot with those things. I'm sorry, my brain, I can train it back. So after you mentioned that was a side effect, that they're finding that side effects, I found a list that had a whole bunch of like random, like now we're realizing that these are side effects.
Of COVID?
Yes. And I would love to tell you what they are, but I can't remember any of them. But I was like, holy shit.
Growing 6 inches longer. That's been a side effect. Right?
Titties popping. I mean,
asses be bouncing.
Bam, bam.
I don't know. I think it's definitely a factor.
Maybe.
Right?
Yeah, I guess that would make sense.
I think it's also the emotional work that we've been doing, right? We've been heavily
That's what I've been putting it on.
Swimming in the deep end of PTSD and trauma and all sorts of different stuff.
Yes, sir.
However, I think that might be another factor, the whole COVID thing.
Yeah, I think like that fits.
Because I feel like,
who knows, but it fits.
I mean, it comes, for me, it's work where it's like, normally I could maintain this really high level of competency in regards to my job. And that level of competency has been...
It's faltered a bit. Like kind of failed.
Yeah. It's been kind of dropping off over the last few months.
I can see that. Like, I don't know, like... But you're like, oh, I needed to do this or that or whatever. But I can see you also like more frustrated with it too. Like it seems like it's because there's so much going on, it's taxing you more. So you're like, I think I called it burnout too yesterday. I was like, I feel like you're getting like burned out.
Yeah, that could be a factor. But
is that a factor or is it because of, like you said, the brain fog?
Right. Because of the ways that COVID messed with my gray matter.
I would like to say that it's COVID's fault that I can't speak, but this has been a thing for a while, so it's not. This is me.
I have this story I want to share with you. I haven't told you this, and for whatever reason, it's just popped into my head that I was going to tell you this the other day, and then I didn't. And the reason I'm going to tell you this is because it highlights... Why am I going to tell you this? I don't know why I'm going to tell you this, but I'm going to. I listened to, or I watched a clip from this podcast. It's a podcast that I don't really follow or watch. It's not one that I'm a fan of. It's called The Fighter and the Kid. You don't know, you might know who Brian Callen is. He's a stand-up as well as an actor. And Brendan Schaub. Brendan Schaub used to fight in the UFC, and he's kind of shifted and transitioned after he retired from the UFC. And he's got some podcasts that he does, as well as some stand-up and things like that. Not a huge fan of their podcast. I don't listen to it really. But I watched this clip on YouTube. Brendan, who is... I mean, I like him. I like his personality. I think he's funny, but he's kind of like your stereotypical UFC guy that you would think, right? That kind of mentality, that kind of sense of humor, just that type of guy. It's not to say bad in any way. It just it helps you, Stephanie, paint a picture of this person, right? So Brendan tells this story about driving on the freeways in LA, headed somewhere. He's got his wife in the car with him, and they come across an accident, and it's a terrible accident. Diesel has jackknifed in the middle of the freeway. Why he stops is because there's a child on top of one of the vehicles. Like there's another car, there's an SUV. There's like an 8-year-old kid on top of the car trying to flag down traffic. So he is like first on scene, comes across this accident. I'm not going to go into like great detail about his story or what he talks about, but he talks about a moment where he's helping to get because there's a couple of kids in this car. So he's helping to get these kids out of the car, which involves kind of breaking a window and getting them out of the vehicle. And it's clear to him that the mom in the front seat of the car, like in the passenger seat or up front somewhere, has passed away. Like it's obvious. And as he's trying to recount the story and tell the story of everything, that was like one of the moments when he started to get emotional. Obviously, it's a very emotional experience, right? But for him, it was really hard. He says he's been having a hard time sleeping the last few days and blah, 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 so on and so forth because of this traumatic event for him. But one of the things that was really, I think, from the sounds of it, like one of the things that he's really having a hard time shaking is that visual of the mom in the front seat passed away. Because at one point he mentioned like gray matter all over the car or in the front seat or something like that. And of course, listening to the story, I flashed to my experiences, right? And he commented that it's something that, you know, you see violence or you see traumatic things or you see stuff portrayed on film, but then to see it in person and see it like close up firsthand in person. It's one thing to see like an accident as you're driving by on the freeway. It's a much different thing to be involved in it firsthand. And he was. And he was like really shook and surprised, I think, by the level of how much it affected him. And it made me think back, obviously, to recount similar experiences that I've had. And I remember, I'm trying to remember the first time. I don't know if I could recall exactly the first time, but I remember the first time that I saw gray matter. And for those of you that, gray matter is just a really nice way of saying your brain, right? And so when you see brain, it's weird. Like it's one thing to see blood. I don't have an issue with blood. I don't have an issue with anything necessarily. But I saw a lot of blood. You see injury. I remember there was one guy that got cut up by a utility knife, like a razor blade. And he had big gashes and you could see like muscle and fatty tissue and everything like that. But there's something, I think there's got to be some sort of like, not biological, but some sort of like, there has to be something in our heads, genetically, biologically, evolutionary, that when we see gray matter, something is wrong. Do you know what I mean? Obviously. But it has a different feel, a situation where...
It's not fixable.
I don't know if that's what it is, or do you know what I mean? Because even the sight of gray matter doesn't necessarily mean that it's not fixable.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
People survive all sorts of crazy things, right? But I think there is something that happens, or there is something that's kind of like instinctual just in our DNA that registers that differently than it does seeing other, injuries and stuff like that. But it was interesting. Like I said, I don't know why I wanted to tell you that or why I wanted to bring that up, but it was just interesting. There was a part of me that was like, because it's one thing to try to explain to somebody, and it's one thing to try to express to somebody what going through those experiences are like. But just literally nobody really understands what it's like until they experience it. Do you know what I mean? And I wish that there was a way to kind of impart more of what it's like to be in those experiences so that people would grasp it more, because I think it would make people not just appreciate life differently, but I think also appreciate like the fragility of life.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I think a lot of times people get caught up in thinking that, at the end of the day, life is really fragile, but it's beautiful. Like that's not a bad thing that the human body is so fragile, and we're strong as well, right? It's a It's a polarity thing where we are incredibly strong and capable and able to do really, really, really difficult things and survive really, really, really horrific, terrible things. But then there's like this, the flip side of that is it's like, oh, this is a really fragile existence. And I think people might be a little bit more kind, and the world would be probably a lot different if we understood that. But maybe I'm wrong.
I don't think you're wrong.
You know, maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe you are, but that sure felt true.
Because there's
throughout me.
Big portions of the population that know how fragile life is.
Yeah.
And I don't know. That's all. That's the end of the podcast, folks. We decided to start off with something really light and fun.
Oh my goodness.
You said you had something that happened to you today that you haven't had a chance to. Like I said, I don't know why the fuck I told you that.
Well, I feel like you needed to talk about that, and maybe there was a little bit of unity in that, because you were hearing like that he saw that and how hard it was for him, and maybe there was that part of it that allowed
like
that to like
it makes
really
me feel so
acknowledge
bad,
how hard
right?
it is for you.
Well, it's not even just acknowledging how hard it is for me, because I've acknowledged that. But in the time in listening to him, I'm like, I just want to give him a hug.
Because you can see that pain.
Yeah. I'm like, dude, that stuff sucks.
Yeah.
Like, it just sucks. And there's nothing that make it. I mean, you ask Brendan Schaub after the fact, and, you know, he second guessed some of his actions only because he's got kids as well. And he talks about this, and, you know, he plays that game of like, maybe I shouldn't have stopped because I put myself at risk, and I've got kids, and I got my, you know, all these kind of different things. And, but you ask him, I'm sure at the end of the day, after he's done kind of processing through everything, having that experience and knowing what it was and knowing what it did to you, would you stop again? And of course he would.
Yeah.
That's just, I think, the type of person that he is.
Support kids.
Right? And there's another part of the story that is just terrible.
Yeah, right?
But I'm not going to tell you that part, because
okay.
It's not that big of a deal. It doesn't really play a role in regards to what I wanted to talk about this.
Okay.
If you're a curious listener and you want to know the other side of the story, go find that clip. Like I said, it's The Fighter and the Kid. You can find it on YouTube, and go watch Brendan talk about that experience of his. Anyways.
Goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All my things on my list are dumb.
Well, I was excited about my thing, but it's like, it's going to be hard to, I can't even think of the word. It's going to be hard to like transition into, because it seems like really, it's super, like you put, it's super superficial now. It's like insignificant. It was powerful for me, but now I'm like, oh, that's stupid.
No,
but it's not.
It seems insignificant.
It does.
Like you said, though, it's not.
Yeah, it's not. I'll share it anyways. But God, I'm like, fuck. It fit perfectly at the end of like allowing yourself this and talking about COVID brain and how, you know, I feel like.
Let's go back to that.
Yeah. But there was some part where it was like, I don't know, allowing yourself or something. Now I can't even remember. All I can think of about is the last topic. So I don't even really remember how we ended the other one. I'm like, it fit into this one, and now I'm going to talk about ego as opposed to our actual life. That's okay. It's okay. All topics are valid.
Yes.
Fuck. This feels so stupid.
I can transition to something dumb if you'd like, and then you'll be able to come in on the after the fact. I've got dumb stuff to talk about.
You got dumb stuff to talk about? So you're agreeing my stuff
That sounds
is
like
dumb.
a really good podcast.
I've got dumb stuff to talk about. It's probably, we're going to find that now. Somebody's going to do that. We better get credit. Like, just like, thank you.
Yeah, just shout us out.
Thank you.
So what
Have us
happened
on
today?
your show. It's actually, it's something you've been telling me. And
I am incredibly smart.
yeah, you are.
That was you're kind of dumb.
No, that wasn't. That was, I was going to make a smart ass comment because I'm uncomfortable and that's what I do in those situations, and I decided not to.
Okay.
I'm just going to say what I'm going to talk about right now so I can get the uncomfortableness of it out of the way. I'm talking about body image.
Okay.
And coming after what you just said, body image is insignificant, but it also isn't. And a lot of people deal with it.
Yeah, it's massive. We both deal with it.
Yes.
And we're not alone.
No. So,
in the universe.
So you know how mine's pretty tanked out, especially like I'm in my worst physical shape that I've ever been in. And I've been in the worst physical shape that I've ever been in now for a while. As before, you know, you have the ups and downs but you know, it always gets better. And this time it's just not getting better. I'm like staying in the shit. I've had to whatever, just staying here. This is what it is. And you have been talking about, do you realize what we've done? Like you quit smoking and you've working a lot on your mental health. You're not using a lot of the coping mechanisms that you've been, and just kind of giving me that, doesn't that count for something? I'm like, no, it fucking doesn't. Because look, I should be able to reflect it. And I think I've said, when does it balance out? And my normal too is when my mood is better, I shed the weight. And when my mood is low, I pack it on, unless I'm going through a absolute nervous breakdown, and then it comes off. But that's just because my body's like, meow.
Yeah.
I've only lost weight with stress once. I always gain it, but it has happened one time a few years ago. But it's staying. It's staying. So you're giving me that, and it's just not hitting. It's just not hitting because it's bullshit.
Also, my words of encouragement and wise words of wisdom aren't doing the trick for you?
They weren't. No,
okay.
I couldn't see it. I'm just like, no, because my self-worth
I've got
is
some
here.
more, by the way.
You're going to get a kick out of the story. So I decided I was going to try and put on my fat jeans today. And they are the biggest pair of jeans that I've ever owned. Now, I've got them before because I've hit here, but I never maintain. And I think I'm actually higher than I've ever been, but I'm too afraid to get on the scale. I'm like, my mind does not need to know those numbers. Nope. But I put them on and I was like, oh my God, they're not going to fit. And they were tight. I'm like, oh my God. And I put them on and I was down there with my bra and my jeans and looking down because they had the holy jeans. So I got some holes in the thighs too.
Yeah.
And my thigh just wants to come out like one of those canned biscuits. Just wants to pop out. I'm like, that's not attractive. And it took me a minute staring at it to find peace with it and just sit there and be like, okay. So I'm standing there in my bra because I was going to see what shirt I wore was going to really depend on whether I was going to put the same leggings on, because all I can wear is leggings and that's all I've worn. But I wanted to try just to see whether it was a measure of where I got to get or what. I didn't think I was going to get them on, but I got them on. They were tight. I got them on. I said that. So I didn't have a shirt on, just standing there with my jeans and my bra and feeling the spillage. You ever put on, too tight pants and you have some body to you. You understand spillage. So I had spillage and was just looking at myself and oh my God, I was so upset. I was so upset. I just looking how the fuck did that happen? How are you that big? How is that? How did you let that happen to yourself? Because my worth is so tied up in it. I don't see anybody else and ever think, how did you do that? How did you never. Right. But for me, I'm like, what? You are just worthless. You are worthless. You don't deserve love. You don't deserve to be here. There's so much attached to it and it's silly and there shouldn't be, but there is. It's also safety. I've learned that people are nicer to you when you look better. And so that means that that's a nice way to say it, because I'll just say it. It's hard to say. My previous marriage, I noticed that when I could keep myself smaller and always have hair and makeup, that the abuse was less. It was easier for him to attack me when I look like shit, and I look like shit a lot. So I can see like all the different things, right? Like my self-image didn't start there, but that perpetuated it and that increased it. So just because something doesn't start there doesn't mean it's not a factor, you know?
Right.
But then there was a moment, and so like feeling all these things and looking at myself. I luckily had my hair and makeup on, so just a little bit, you know, of self-helping. Anyways, maybe that didn't matter. I was looking at my stomach and just like all the spillage, and turned and saw just like all the way, like I've got like my back's fat now. How did, like, even that, like, what the fuck? And it just like something just flipped, and I was like, this means that you haven't been throwing up. And then I just like sat with that for a minute and like let that feel, and it just fueled me so much. It fueled me so much. And then it was like, oh my gosh, like my body's big, and it's been here because I'm not throwing up. I'm also not taking any diet pills. I'm also not starving myself. All of these things that I'm not doing to hurt my body. And the fact that it's stayed this big, like this long, like, 'cause I realized on the scope of things, I'm not that big, but for me, I am, and I am big. You know, it's not that I'm little and like have some delude. No, I'm big, but it's not that, like, but anyways, even though it was, that's not the point. The point is like, I maintain that. So I've been being nice to my body, even if I haven't been eating the best foods, right? But I've been being nice. That means like that the fact that have this weight is like, it is actually self-love. And I go like, holy, that's big. And then all of a sudden I looked different to myself. And I was like, oh, like, I'm pretty, you know, there's nothing wrong with my body. And I was like looking at myself, and instead of the parts that are fat that look ugly, I was so proud of them. And I've been wearing, like, these jeans are uncomfortable and they keep falling off because I need a belt to hold them on. Not because they're so big for me, but because my body keeps trying to like push them down. But I'm wearing jeans and I feel all the things. I liked my body. I almost took a picture just because I was feeling myself that much. And like, no, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to look at that. I just want to enjoy this moment and hope this stays, because I got to be super happy and super proud of myself and see the fact that I have this weight on as me loving myself. And that was huge. Maybe. I know you've been saying it, but I couldn't hear it.
So huge. It's so huge.
So I hope I still feel it tomorrow.
Well, I think it's incredible.
It was a good feeling.
I'm glad.
It was way cool.
Yeah, it's something that you should not just feel good about, but you should be proud of. Yeah. And you should totally acknowledge it as, oh my God, I love myself.
Right.
I've been doing something for so long, and now I'm not doing it anymore. And instead I'm doing this other thing, and it is 100% self-love.
It's pretty cool.
It's way cool. I have, at the very beginning of when you started talking, you mentioned that this is the unhealthiest that you've ever been. And I thought about that just in regards to myself, because I kind of feel the same way in some regards. I mean, I have a different relationship with weight than you do. And this past year, I feel like I have gotten the heaviest that I've ever gotten before, right? But just that statement of I'm the unhealthiest that I've ever been before. If we are only using, and we don't even have to use weight, if we're only using like, because weight isn't an accurate descriptor of health either, right?
It's not. That's what I use.
Yeah.
And that's what I was referring to, but it's not accurate.
But it's, I mean, because literally the judgment that we're placing on each other, I'm not placing it on you, but the thing that we're saying to ourselves, right? The idea that this one thing, like our weight and the way that we physically look, is the only barometer for health is so fucking wrong.
Right.
And inaccurate. And I would say if we were to spread out all the things that quote unquote make a person healthy, right? Or somebody that not just feels healthy, but that is healthy in a balanced way. It's a huge spectrum of things. And I would argue that you and I right now, literally right now, are the healthiest that we have ever been.
I agree. Absolutely.
If you think about the level of shit that we have lived with, right? And the anxiety and the stress and the coping mechanisms and the disassociation and the level of unhealthiness that all of that emotional pain and trauma and mental health, all of that, and how much that affects your health level. We're the healthiest we've ever been, baby.
Pretty awesome. I was going to high five you.
Right?
Yeah.
High five.
Bam.
Literally the healthiest we've ever been.
It's pretty cool.
And how foolish is it for us to be like, well,
but
we're only using this one measurement.
But look at that gut.
Sorry, all of those other measurements that are very valid and accurate and tell the whole picture. Yeah. We're not going to look at those. We're just looking at this one element.
Right. Don't judge a book by its cover.
Right. But literally the healthiest we've ever been. And it's only going to get better. Mm-hmm. Right? We're only going to continually to get healthier and more healthy and healthier.
I can see that in this moment.
Good.
I haven't been able to see that, but in this moment, I'm like, this is a really good indicator. We are already showing repetitive patterns
of health,
of healing. We're showing that. It feels like everything is like backtracking and like, blah, blah, blah. And, but we're not. We are exceeding. We're moving on up. We're doing good. You saying that too brought awareness of the times that I felt like I was my healthiest. And I'm looking at that. I'm like, I was not a healthy body. No. And it's not saying that thin isn't healthy. No. That's not what I'm saying. Everybody has that's not what I'm saying. Saying what I was doing to my body for me to be there and where I was, and still not even seeing it. I was not healthy.
Yeah.
I was not healthy.
I'm the same.
There were times I thought I was in my prime because I could fit into those little jeans because things looked good in and out, and I could wear the clothes. So that to me was healthy. That was strong. And that was not only healthy, that was like worthy. That was, here we go. Now I deserve to be happy. Now I can be happy. Now I can get some love. But it's still like all the things you had to hide. But it's just so gross. It's just gross.
So sad, isn't it? Don't you wish you could go back to that girl and just talk to her?
I could. I do. I wish. I'm like, if I would, I could. If I could, I would. Mm-hmm. And also say, quit. Don't describe people by their weight. And so many people I hear do that. Yeah. This person who, they're big, or whatever, or they're they lost a lot of weight. Boy, they've gained a lot of weight. I don't care. Why don't tell me that. Don't talk to people about other people's weights. Do not use that as a descriptor. And do not comment to other people about their weight.
When do you think that began? At what point in history do you think we started describing people like that?
I don't know.
Sorry, did you have more?
Well, it's just it's both ends of the spectrum. Don't comment on somebody if they're bigger than you think they should be. And don't comment on somebody if they're skinnier than you think they should be. Fuck off. None of your damn business. Worry about your own weight.
Well, it's just not an important factor, right?
It's not. But then you hear all that, and then on top of all the stuff. But
and that's the assumption too, that if we see somebody that's overweight, then they're probably fucked up, right? They've definitely got some problems. They don't have their life together, right? It's it's one tiny factor in regards to somebody's overall health.
Exactly.
Right.
And the same with it's just. When do you think that started? People describing? I don't know.
That whole idea that it became such a focal point of not just how we see ourselves, but how we kind of start to classify people. I
don't know. The farthest back that I can think, shut up. I'm not a historian.
Oh, that's interesting. I thought you were.
Well, I know, because I'm I have a lot of information.
It's obvious.
I know a lot of things about a lot of people.
Exactly.
About a lot of life. But they were saying in the, I can't remember the era.
Renaissance.
I'm thinking that when it was like you would see all these.
Victorian.
No, okay, stop helping.
Okay.
Let me describe it and then tell me.
I know what you're describing. I'm trying to help, but go ahead.
Is it Renaissance?
No.
Is it? It's not the Victorian. Is it the
No.
Victorian? Well, then tell me what you think it is.
I just did.
Oh, I got it. Okay. So when women were painted in the portraits and being voluptuous, and
Yes.
it was show like the men didn't have to have 6-pack abs. It was like showing men and women and just like their beauty
Mm-hmm.
and how that was beautiful and how over time, thin was actually a sign. And that was like, not only that, but it would show like money.
Mm-hmm.
Like you were of worth in the community. You had the money because you could afford
Food.
sugar.
Yeah.
And it was sugar. Sugar used to be super, super expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was for like the wealthy.
Isn't that funny?
could
And
get
now
it.
how cheap it is.
Yeah. Right. And thin were looked down upon because they were poor. They didn't
Yeah.
have enough. So it was weight was a sign of prosperity. So I know that had a thing. And then obviously, they've switched it to what it is today. But I don't know about before that. That's why that's as far back as I can pin it from my information of when it could have possibly started.
I have no idea. Right. I have no idea. I think it's interesting. Just the way that you described how we use it so much is a way to label people, is a way to describe people. I hadn't necessarily thought about it in that way. And then I think about how I talk to you about some people. I'll come home from jiu-jitsu and I'll describe, the one big guy.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, it's really interesting. I wish I knew when it started because there's got to be a cause and a reason for it. I think during the 80s, because I recently listened to another podcast. Surprise, surprise.
Is it one you liked?
It was one that I
Okay.
like. It's oh fuck.
That's funny. We'll talk about it. Maybe it'll come to you. Talk about what you heard.
It's Bobby Lee's podcast. I can't remember the name of it. Tiger or something. Tiger Belly. But they were talking about how at some point action stars looked different, like back in the 70s and 60s and 50s, and men, right?
Mm-hmm.
Men that were quote unquote action stars, like Burt Reynolds and Chuck Norris. And they looked very, very different from like the action stars that we see today. And what the action stars or the movie stars that are, they have to look a certain way. And the idea of what a man is supposed to look like has changed. And that's just within our lifetime,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's definitely distinctly different from like John Travolta in Staying Alive being the sex symbol to Ryan Gosling in every movie that he's ever made,
Right.
being the sex symbol, right? Hugely, vastly different versions of masculinity. And I think that's interesting. I think the introduction of like fitness and the gyms and going to the gym and working out and spin class and everything like that played a role. And then of course, social media and the internet, right?
Yeah.
Because now we can see everybody.
Yeah. I think it was before that. Like, what was the...
Oh, I'm sure it was way before that. That was just
it was pretty big in the...
It was just a example.
Yeah.
Yeah. It didn't start there, of course.
Well, I wasn't saying started, but like that has made it so much worse. There was like a show, like Jimmy Lee Curtis starred in it. I don't know if it was in the 70s or 80s.
Was it the one with the workout?
Yeah, Perfect. I think it's called
Was it called
Perfect. I
Perfect?
think it's called Perfect because it was like, that was the perfect body, the ideal.
Uh-huh.
And anyways,
She's sexy.
well,
I like me some Jamie Lee.
yeah. Just beautiful woman. Yeah, she's always been pretty.
There was something else that I was thinking about today. These are all thoughts, random
Always been
thoughts. We don't know anything.
True.
I'm not talking about you and me.
Oh,
Okay.
still true.
I'm talking about like us as a species.
The species?
We know nothing about the human body. Nothing. Okay. Think about it. Think about this. Okay. We have this disease going on, or this virus that, whatever, right?
Yes.
And it affects everybody so differently.
True.
And we can't get a straight answer of what it's supposed to do or what it's not supposed to do, and why it affects this person this way and why it doesn't affect that person. There is zero fucking consistency and or consensus.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. about the whys or the hows or what to expect or what the symptoms will be. It is so variable from person to person to person to person.
Including the vaccinated.
And
it's the same, it keeps going.
when we try to get an answer from the scientist and or the doctor to tell us what to expect or tell us why it's doing this, you get, every single doctor that you ask is going to give you a different fucking answer. So then I started to think about like other sicknesses, the flu, common cold, other things, cancer, right? Where we pretty much are just fucking throwing shit against the wall and seeing what sticks. Does this work for you? Nope. Okay, well, try this thing. Does this thing work for you? Kind of. Great, stick with that, right? There's so many medicines, there's so many vitamins, so many supplements, so many things, and everybody has their opinion on what you should be doing and why you should be doing it. Some doctors, I'm sure, would say vitamins are a waste of time. There's no need for supplements. If you just eat a balanced diet, you get everything that you need and you're fine. Mm-hmm. That's going to be information that a doctor gives you, right?
Mm-hmm. I've heard that.
Obviously, that's not correct, right? We believe something different.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of scientists that argue otherwise as well. So the more I thought about it and the more I kind of dived into it, I just realized we know nothing. Yeah. Nothing. We can't agree on anything. Should we eat red meat or should we not?
Depends on who you ask.
How much salt should we have in our bodies?
Depends on who you ask.
Right?
Yeah.
And I figured out, I could go on.
Did you figure it out?
Hold on.
Fuck yeah.
I could go on and on and on and on about all these different things that people disagree about, right? Okay. Some people think we should be eating this. Some people think we should be eating that. Don't feed your baby that. And the next person is like, oh, that's okay. You can feed babies that. That's not going to hurt a baby. Oh, it'll kill a baby. No, it won't kill a baby. It'll be fine. Feed your baby that. There's so many fucking things. So we have zero knowledge, like actual real knowledge, because nobody can agree on anything. And how in the fuck can we not agree on something? We have been this species.
We got some practice.
For a very long time. And I understand that the evolution of science and technology and everything like that, the level of technology that we have today, and we still can't fucking agree, like, should we be eating the yolks of our eggs or should we just be eating the whites? Right. Are the yolks going to kill me because of cholesterol and I'm going to die at 65? Or is it actually a healthy fat that I need to be consuming? We can't agree on any of this fucking information. Are you fucking serious?
Right.
The three of you can't get into a room, smart scientists, and come out with a solution? So I figured out the one thing that everybody can agree on.
What is this?
Are you ready?
Oh, I think I know what it is.
Because I looked. You saw my eyes.
No, I thought before, and then you looked.
You followed
but I already
my
knew
eyes.
it. I knew before it because that's what you always say.
It's water, baby.
But is it filtered? Is it unfiltered? Should it be well water?
It doesn't matter.
Not unfiltered or well water.
It doesn't matter, right?
Does chlorine help? Should it have fluoride in it? So even
Just
everything
water.
about water is controversial.
Well,
but
what we
water's
put into our water or where we source our water is controversial.
Okay,
but everybody agrees
we need water. But how much water?
Right? How much?
Is too
8
much?
cups a day? No, that's too much. You can drink a gallon a day, you're probably going to die.
Yeah, you're dry land drowning.
Right? A gallon of water is not safe for humans to consume. What the fuck are you talking about? Yeah. I've had days where I drink 2 gallons of water. 3, yeah. Right?
How cool is it that we are lucky enough to have fresh water that we can drink all out, like 2-3 gallons?
Yes, that's very lucky of us.
It's very lucky.
That's a completely different topic.
I know, but I just want to bring acknowledgement to that not everybody...
Do you not think it's insane that we know nothing? Like, part of me there's a part of that makes me feel incredibly scared and not safe at all. Where it's like, are you serious? I'm supposed to be able to go ask somebody and they're supposed to be able to give me the answer, right?
That's why they give us the answers they give us.
And that's
fear tactic.
Well, they give you the answers of like, probably, yeah, don't do that. Should I drink a glass of wine a day? Yes, that's really, really healthy. That's super beneficial for you.
Sorry.
And then the next doctor or the next specialist or the next person or the person that's, standing next to you in the grocery checkout line is going to say, no, that'll kill you. My aunt drank a glass of wine a day. She's an alcoholic and she died at 54 of cancer, right? My aunt did.
I know. I know your aunts.
I just think it's very, I mean, if you look at it from that perspective of how little we actually know when it comes to the human body, we don't know why it does the things that it does either.
We don't. Did you know our bodies are electric?
Yeah.
Boogie woogie woogie. No, it's like seriously.
Boogie woogie woogie.
Electric boogie woogie woogie woogie.
I got the reference. Okay. It was just really cute.
But our bodies are electric.
Boogie,
and
woogie woogie.
They're water.
How can that be? Right?
Riddle me this.
We just don't know. And if we outlined this concept of like, oh, we just don't know, the majority of people would be like, yeah, you're right. Because it makes sense what I'm saying right now, because we all have that experience of, I don't know, we'll figure that, well, try this thing, right? How do you cure whatever fucking anything, right? Well, give somebody this. And then the next doctor's like, well, give somebody that. This won't work. You need to give them this. If you give them this in conjunction with that, then these three things make you feel better. But does it really? I don't know. Ask the next guy. So the conclusion that I've come to
is that we know nothing.
Is that we know nothing.
Except for that we need water.
And I think it's high fucking hilarious that we are expected to believe people that are telling us things like they're certainties.
Yeah. Everything's a theory. Right? Certainties change consistently.
Correct.
Like you can count on that. Like here is this thing. And then we have this information. And they're like, aha, here's this thing.
All of this public health information that has been fed over the last year and a half or 22, I don't know how fucking long it's been. For the last 14 years of COVID that we've all had.
Right.
All this information that they're giving us, it's throwing shit against a wall and seeing what sticks.
I watched some KUTV news today. They had a
shout out to the old KUTV news.
Well, it's because they had a doctor on.
Oh, a specialist.
You want to let me finish? Thank you, sir. I mean, I know I interrupt you and make jokes all the time, but I could see how that might be annoying. I thought I was being clever. Anyways, he works he's mainly out of IHC and LDS, but he has privileges at all the hospitals. He gets to time. I'm talking.
I'm listening.
And listening to him, like I started to, as they were going and asking these questions, I found myself with his answers, starting to get like worked up and get a little nervous. I'm like, they were throwing some really good scare tactics out there. And what brought me back down is because I was paying such attention to what he was saying that when they would ask a controversial question, I could see enough of his demeanors change to where I knew it was either like something that he was like coming up with on the fly and not having the information and trying to sound like he had the information. And the other one that I noticed was the one that he was saying but knew something different. And so just seeing
where he wasn't being true to himself.
He wasn't being like keeping things in however they're supposed to be put out there.
Yeah.
And so picking up on the discrepancies also made it so where even though it felt like all the fear-based stuff, whatever, but it helped me like pull that perspective out and be like, none of this is facts. None of this is facts. Like he doesn't even know. Why doesn't he just say he doesn't know instead of coming up with these other things? It's like, that wasn't true. I can tell you're lying right there. And so like they don't know what the hell they're talking about. And they're going to lie about what they think they know.
Yeah.
So what are we supposed to do?
Right. It's literally like us as parents when kids come and ask you a question.
We're faking that shit.
I don't have a fucking answer.
We're doing
for that.
our best.
Right. And you're like, it's a good question. In the meantime, you're like, oh, fuck, what the fuck?
Well, in the Renaissance area.
Babies, yeah. They come from this faraway land.
Pigeons.
Yeah. Right?
Not storks, pigeons.
When they ask you hard questions and you have to come up with an answer on the fly because you're the person that's supposed to know, right? It's hard.
We've done better at that.
We have done better.
I'm chewing this right in the mic.
It's okay.
I'm sorry.
Just don't chew the mic. So
we say we don't like, we have to look at that or we'll get back to you. That's been mine.
I think there's going to be a solution to this problem. What's wrong?
You cut me off so I couldn't finish my thought. It just sounded really fucking stupid. And it had a good point.
Let's finish it.
No, it's too late now. But
it's not.
You left me like a
breadcrumb trail?
No, you didn't leave me a breadcrumb trail. You left me like
out in the wilderness all alone?
You should let me finish my sentences instead of... No, because you make me lose my train of thought. Let me finish my sentence before you start trying to guess what my sentence is.
Yes, I should
so
do that.
I can remember it.
When I do that, when I finish your thoughts and your sentences, it's consistently, it is getting louder and louder and louder, and I'm becoming more and more aware of it because it's something that I really, really, really want to stop doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not healthy. Now
neither of us remember where we were.
I remember.
Do you? Go for it.
So drink your waters.
It's not where you were.
As much as you want. It doesn't fucking matter. Drink more water, period. You're definitely not drinking enough water. I've done a test and we came back with the results. Only 8% of the world's population drinks enough water. So you definitely need to drink more water. And then the solution to this problem of not knowing how our bodies work or what is needed.
What is it?
I think technology is going to be the answer. I think technology is going to be the thing that saves us. And I'm going to give you an example, okay? Because you can tell a lot from blood.
Yes.
Right? That's one of the things that they use to gather a lot of information. Blood work, right? Blood tests, all sorts of different stuff. So one of the very first things that's going to come out in the near future is an at-home blood test that you can do that would basically tell you next to everything that is like either good and or bad about your blood.
Are you talking about genetic testing? Like 23andMe?
No. I'm talking about, imagine being able to take your phone and put your finger on the phone like a fingerprint scanner. But instead of scanning your fingerprint, it may not even need to poke you.
Oh, really?
The first couple of iterations of it may need a dab of your blood. But eventually, it's going to get to the point where you get all the information that you need from home instantaneously, where it's not this thing of waiting for lab test results and waiting for this and waiting for that. You're just going to have a little machine. Maybe it is you slide your hand in and it pricks the middle of your fucking palm or, whatever. And it takes a sample of your blood and it can immediately tell you anything that you want to know about your blood. So you have to run different tests for different labs, for different, if you want to know your platelet levels, if you want to know all these kind of different tests that can go on. There's going to be technology that comes out that's going to do all of this at home because we are all so uniquely different.
Yeah.
Right? And you and I have experienced that, obviously. I'm not telling you anything it's obvious that we're all different, but like you can eat certain things that I can't eat. I can eat certain things that you can't, right? We understand completely that how you react and respond to things is very, very different than how I react and respond to things. So it's going to be really beneficial to have something uniquely specific to each individual person. And also, it has to be that easy. It has to be at home, where you just simply have to go stick your finger in a machine and then it tells you. Because I want to go get my blood work done, right? I want to know what's going on with my blood. There's a bunch of questions that I have about my blood, and because it's going to tell me kind of an overall picture of my health, supposedly, right? But what's stopping me from doing that is how the fuck do I even get blood work? I don't fucking know. Like, do I go to a doctor and say, hey, doc, I just want blood work done? Why? Because it's my blood and I want to know what it is. Like, I have to give you a fucking reason to have my blood work done, bitch? Prick my fucking finger, take my fucking blood, and tell me what's going on. I mean, it'd be more specific.
What do you think's going on?
I don't think there's anything going on. I'm just very curious. There's a lot of things in our blood that we can learn about, like what foods or supplements or how this thing affects us this way, or do you know what I mean? I think there's a lot of markers and a lot of information that is carried, obviously, in our blood that it would be really helpful to know and understand. So I think somebody needs to come out with that technology. And it needs to be fucking affordable.
Right there. There you go.
Right? Don't come out with that technology and make it only for the rich people. Like, when the fuck are we going to be done with that dynamic?
Right.
I had this thought. I got lots of thoughts, apparently.
I got some thoughts, too.
You and I haven't talked for a while. I saw somebody comment on some post on Instagram how fucked up it is that rich people who have a lot of money, obviously, and can afford things,
Get everything for free.
get a bunch of fucking free shit, right? So I thought about if I had a company and I wanted like people to market my products, I'd give them to fucking regular people that are actually grateful, people that couldn't afford this fucking product that I have or that I've created, right? I'm going to give it to them so that they can use it, so that they can try it, because I want them to experience it. I want their feedback, right? Yeah. And then that's going to be the thing that makes me uniquely different from other companies, because everybody's just giving free shit to fucking famous people.
Yeah.
Because then famous people are going to post about it and talk about it, and then more people are going to buy your stuff. Well, let's get outside of that. Let's think about a different way of approaching marketing and spreading the message of whatever your fucking product is. Like, let's get outside the scope of that. Let's start giving a bunch of free stuff to the people that can't afford it. That would probably be pretty cool, right?
That would be very cool.
That'd be a lot better.
I think so.
So what do we have that we could give to people for free? Oh, this podcast.
Boom, boom.
Right? We don't charge a single thing for this podcast. People are like, it's a good thing. So.
Aw, be nice.
It's funny.
Be nice.
It's a joke.
I'm not laughing.
Well.
Positive self-talk, please.
Okay. So yeah, give us free stuff. We're not super wealthy.
We're not even a little bit wealthy.
We are low to low income. I don't even think we're technically middle income.
I don't think we're middle anymore.
Right.
We were, but yeah, we dipped under that line.
Anyways, it doesn't matter.
It's where the cool people are.
It is actually where all the really cool people are. But if you give us stuff, we will talk about it. We will promote your brand. Yeah. We will experience it, and we will sing the praises of it. So it's true.
It's true.
And we don't have 1 million followers. I don't have a new movie coming out next month. Maybe. I don't know. I
didn't take that almost nude picture, so that's not out there.
You should.
I was making
a joke. Okay. Anything else? No. Lots of more information that I was going to get to.
Do you want to?
No. Okay. We got to wrap up because we have some other things to do tonight.
Do we?
Nope.
Are we?
We're going to be relaxing.
It's going to be so nice. I'm ready to relax.
Right now? Mm-hmm. It's been a long week, hasn't it?
Yes, it has.
You're going to rest your head on the microphone?
I really need a head rest for this.
Okay. Let's do a fun face in the camera.
Okay. Should we do the same
face? Do a fun, I don't care.
Okay.
I didn't say do my fun face. I said do a fun face.
Okay.
Ready? 3, 2, fun face. You got to hold it a little bit longer. 3, 2, 1, hold it. You fucked that up royally. Okay. We're going to be up here for another 30 minutes perfecting fun face.
Let's do it.
No.
Ready? I'm ready.
I love you so much.
I love you too.
Enjoy your week, folks. Go subscribe, listen, support, share, follow. What else? Donate, buy something. I don't know what else. Anything? Okay. Thank you for listening.